there's no such thing as a pusher. That's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to tell you some stories about what's really going on with people who are labeled as pushers, because you heard it here first. There's no such thing as a pusher in tennis. And I had to learn this lesson the hard way, just like everyone else who still thinks that pushers exist. They're going to have to learn this lesson the hard way. And a lot of people aren't going to learn this lesson. They're going to continue to think that there's such thing as a pusher. So what's really going on with the quote-unquote pusher? Well, what's really going on is they're not good enough. That's the first thing. They're usually not good enough. And I'm going to tell you a story about probably the worst, most embarrassing experience a tennis player can have on the court with a pusher. And I was playing a tournament. I don't even know if it was a tournament or it had. I don't even know. It was on clay. And this kid was a Division III tennis player. This is when I was really getting good, playing a lot. I started to think I was good. I was hitting hard. Nothing that you've seen on my channel so far. I mean, I'm talking about explosive. Nothing I've revealed of myself. I don't even know if I have tape of this, of myself playing like this. But on clay, a lot of times what would happen is I would hit big serve, big forehand, etc., aggressive, and these guys couldn't deal with it. And that's what we're talking about with a pusher. A lot of times they don't have that play. Like what I was doing to him, he didn't have that. All he could do was defend. And on clay, what would happen a lot of times on clay with me is I'd get in these situations where I'd hit a lot of spin. I'd be hitting hard with a lot of spin, and with clay, the guys would be able to get the ball back because they were good movers. As I said, this guy was like a D3. He was currently playing D3 college tennis. And if you watch the match, that's what it looked like. It looked like everything downhill from me, and then this guy just blocking everything back, and I couldn't finish the point. I didn't really, I was trying to hit winners, etc., wondering why I couldn't hit winners. And a lot of times this is what happens when it comes to this idea of pusher. And I threw an absolute fit. I lost this match. I remember his parents were there watching, and I was cursing at his parents. I was cursing at him. It was totally embarrassing. They're looking at me like, this guy's fucking crazy. And the other thing I wanted to mention about pushers is usually, humans are habitual. And these people, they get into their habits. They default to what basically they default to all they can do. They're in survival mode. And another scenario, I remember playing this guy who I didn't explode as much, but every time I would play him, he would slice his backhand. He would do like that Federer slice cross court that's really fucking annoying. And he would do it over and over and over again. And of course, as you become dominant on the tennis court, what do? You start to hit inside out forehands. So we'd get in this pattern where I'd get an inside out forehand pattern, and then he would to his backhand, and then he would slice it back to me. And what would happen is the ball would skid, it would stay low, and I wouldn't be able to play this big inside out forehand anymore. And I would try to go up the line and miss, and not really knowing how to handle that. This guy in my mind was labeled as a pusher, someone who wasn't a very good tennis player, because I knew that I was forcing him into this situation. And I think when I say forcing, like I wasn't even really trying, just my natural game was forcing him into this pusher scenario, because I've seen him hit topspin backhands before. And I even said to him, I remember this guy even said to him, and he just kind of like shrugged it off like he was doing it on purpose. He wasn't doing it on purpose. That's all he could do. He couldn't hit a topspin backhand off of what I was giving him. My natural game. I wasn't even like playing crazy or anything. So I want to emphasize that as well, because these guys are not. The truth of the matter is, these guys are not as athletic. They don't have the same internal skills that you have oftentimes. and that's why they become pushers. And you can't tell them this because then you look like an absolute egomaniac. But that's the real gist of it. I talk a lot about this on my channel that people are born a certain way, and the you can be a good tennis player and not be born this way. I'm not saying I talk about that on the channel as well. However, when it comes to this high performance, etc., you were born this way. You can't. Most people cannot just. You can train all day long. You're never going to get there, and that's kind of what happens with a pusher. You have like this level of human being versus another, and they're just not gonna. They just don't have it. It could also be the killer instinct. A lot of them just don't have the killer instinct, and you do, and you come out and you just express it naturally because that's how you are. And this occurs on the tour. I mean, this occurs at all levels. This isn't like it isn't like you get really good at tennis and you become like this. There's really good tennis players who aren't like this. So that's what a pusher. That's really what's going on when it comes to the pusher. We're just talking about different levels, different people and how they express themselves. And the way around this is to understand all that and to understand the scenario you're in, understand that you're not going to just come out there and rip through people all the time. I mean, in some cases, a lot of guys can do it, and then you could say the scenarios that I was in right now. I could tell you at the time I was 125 pounds, 5'7", 125 pounds. It wasn't on clay. There wasn't anything. Even my most aggressive tennis potentially could beat this guy, but I'm also running the risk that I could miss and just completely wipe out of this match. Which all these things understood, I think, really eliminate the psychological shitstorm that is this false notion of the pusher.